You're a loser. The bottom of the social hierarchy. You get bullied relentlessly, have no skills, and have little to no friends. And then one day, you get a quest. Beating the quest makes you stronger, like you're a video game character. And by using this, you can slowly start taking your life back, piece by piece, from the bullies who kept you down. You can become the ultimate version of yourself. This is the story of Soo-Yin Kim from Questism. And also the story of Do-won Ha from Reality Quest. Two different authors, two different studios. Pretty much the same premise. Even the plot after the beginning is pretty much the same too. They're both leading small organizations to take down a big cabal of bullies who work together. So then the question is, obviously, which is better? You've got two manhwas, nearly identical premise and story, different art styles, different plot progression, different characters. Who does it best? Let's compare power sets. The first big difference between these two guys is their actual power sets and their origin. Do-won of Reality Quest is a gamer, a really good gamer in fact. It's like the only real skill he has. He's just like me for real. Do-won is the gaming shuttle of his school bullies. While other students have rich parents and buy bullies things, or are smart and do their homework, Do-won is bullied to boost their online gaming accounts. And this is the basis of his quest system. While gaming solo, Do-won helps a hapless gamer who turns out to be a godlike being who gives Do-won a quest system in return for helping them out. Do-won starts off as a max level character, and then all of his skills and abilities are locked behind progression. Keep that in mind for later. Do-won's system ultimately exists to help him. This isn't always the case. Do-won through the system has basically become a video game character IRL. Soo-Yin from Questism, on the other hand, is someone who really likes webtoons, and he wishes he could become like a webtoon character. And that's where the system comes in. It offers him quests in return for cards. Unlike Do-won, whose progression is pretty obvious, like a video game character, you raise their stats and get better abilities. Soo-Yin's progression is more like a random webtoon character. His cards can make him taller, fix his vision, let him unlock a secret martial art that doesn't actually exist, create a magic cloud with its own personality and that can copy the appearance of any person it sees. It's just random stuff that isn't necessarily as beneficial as Do-won's. It's about how he can effectively use it to his advantage. So you can already see the difference in how these two manhwas take to battles. Do-won fights increasingly strong opponents and levels up accordingly. Soo-Yin has to figure out how to use his cards effectively and intelligently against the challenges that he faces. Do-won has a smaller skill set, but it's one that we can understand. He's balancing combos, cooldowns, items, boosts in fights like a gamer. Meanwhile, Soo-Yin has to leverage his cards to help himself in any and all situations. I'll be honest, my favorite scenes with Soo-Yin are when he's not able to use any of the cards and has to navigate his problem purely through utilizing all the options available to him. The politicking that comes with navigating around various groups with different goals and objectives and using his advantages despite the fact that he's intellectually dumb as rocks. Not using his system, just using his emotional intelligence. Being able to avoid a fight is more impressive than winning one sometimes. This is the immediate difference in the outlook and story progression of these two manhwas. Do-won acts like he's playing a solo video game, while Soo-Yin acts like he's the overpowered main character in a webtoon. If you're wondering, this does, in fact, come back to bite him in the butt several times. We've all been burned by dummy sekais. It's okay. Some stories do actually have consequences. By the way, I have a video about that if you ever want to check it out. And I don't know, maybe I'm just saying, if you have good taste, check it out. So, what about these main characters themselves? How are Do-won and Soo-Yin different besides their playstyles? Do-won feels like a main character of a video game. Like, yeah, he's a solo player, but he's often doing little side quests that often result in him doing battle with some guy at the end of a quest line. He's sort of forced to have a crew with him, but they don't really work together that often. They kind of just give him quests and he does them because he has to. He's literally solo leveling. Whoa, solo leveling reference? Based? Based? To put it plainly, he's the heroic main lead in any video game. He's sort of reluctant at first, but he eventually learns to start having fun. Soo-Yin is a bit different. While they both have to make a gang and then fight against a giant bully mafia, Soo-Yin is much more focused on team play. Early on, Soo-Yin gets the ability to apply his cards to his friends, and the manhwa becomes much more like One Piece than a video game. where Suyin recruits people into his crew to help him with his goals. And like One Piece, people who were once mortal enemies in the last arc are now part of the crew and helping battle. And so not only does Suyin have to juggle how to use his cards, he also has to juggle an entire crew of people with different skill sets and possible loyalties. Like, for example, this guy who Suyin was against a few arcs back, this guy who loves quoting Nietzsche every other sentence he speaks. As someone with an older brother who has a degree in philosophy, all I have to say is accurate. Please remove him from the manual effective immediately. Nietzsche this, Nietzsche that. Maybe Nietzsche should shut the hell up? I don't know. Sure wonder how he feels about horses. Too soon? Anyways, this guy who was once an enemy and was way too strong for Suyin becomes neutral after speaking with him, and eventually joins him because their goals align. Every enemy is not just an obstacle to overcome in battle, but presents an infinite possibility on how to proceed. I want to be clear, the added complexity of Questism is really nice, but the clear-cut nature of Reality Quest is preferable sometimes. So while Doan is the heroic main character in an RPG, Suyin is playing a tactical party-building wargame. Doan battles through waves of enemies to eventually fight a boss like it's a Yakuza game. Suyin strategically places captains of his army to fight enemy captains. Sometimes he doesn't even fight the final boss, because maybe someone in his crew has more of an emotional attachment to that person than he does. Okay, so what about side characters? I'll be honest, both stories do this pretty well. In Questism, we focus more on immediate goals because they're in battle with Suyin more often. But in Reality Quest, we focus more on their backstories and intrinsic motivations for why they are who they are. Questism side character moments happen more often because of how many side characters there are. Meanwhile, the ones in Reality Quest feel more impactful because they're usually pretty well done and take their time to explore each character properly. Both have their strengths and weaknesses. In Reality Quest, we watch one of Doan's friends slowly fall in love with a girl, and then she gets kidnapped, and we learn of his past of being a sheltered little rich boy. And his character is slowly unraveled as the arc progresses. First, he's just a friend of Doan, then he's a shy lover boy, then he has to man up and go help her. And then we learn maybe he was sheltered not because his parents were overly cautious, but because maybe he was too violent. And if he lets it out, he might not be able to control it. But if it's for the girl he likes, maybe it's okay? And we watch as he loses control of himself to the horror of this girl. Slowly over the course of this arc, we are spoon-fed information and motivations of his character until a satisfying climax. Meanwhile in Questism, Suyin's best friend, Yakuza, yes, that's his name. Okay, well, it's his nickname. His name, if rearranged, spells Yakuza. Yakuza is a sort of ridiculous character. He's sort of a mix of like stoic straight man, but the comedy comes from the fact that he's just like a fat loser nerd. He's like a cringe weeb to basically everyone else. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, viewer? Anyways, he can talk all about chivalry he wants, but if he can't defend a woman, what's the point? The cool thing about him is that he's consistent. Yakuza is never dishonest and always speaks his mind and sticks to it regardless of the harm to himself. Early on, it's played as a negative because he's weak, but as the story progresses, Suyin can empower Yakuza to make his words a reality. During one of the many gang wars, Yakuza falls in love with one of the enemy soldiers, this beautiful, tall warrior lady, and he refuses to harm her because that's just how he is. And later on when she's in trouble, he comes in to save her despite the fact that it definitely will not work. He's a man who's true to himself regardless of circumstance. Even if she's an enemy, even if he'll lose, he has to help her out. And Suyin agrees. He knows exactly the type of guy Yakuza is and helps him out. Yakuza is able to save her and charm her in the process. Lord, I've seen what you've done for others. Please, I'm on my knees. We then learn about Yakuza's mother and father. His father was in Japan and fell in love with the powerful daughter of the Yakuza. Eventually, he was able to get her despite the fact that he was also just a fat loser. So it turns out that pulling bad bitches is in his DNA. Hey Lord, Darnell again. And also, he comes from a powerful Yakuza family with a secret fighting technique that his mother swore to never teach him. I wonder if this will ever come up again. Which brings us to the sort of hook of these manhwas. The way they keep you guessing is kind of the exact same technique actually. We see the main character win a battle and finish a quest, and then they look at the reward screen and go, whoa! And then we cut. We don't actually learn about what those rewards do until we're in a bad place, and that exact reward they earned will help them out in this very specific situation. Though I will say this happens a lot more in reality quests just because of the nature of how his rewards work. Like, sometimes the rewards Suyin will get are like, grow 3 centimeters. There's no real world situation where this comes in handy. Let's talk about the art for a second. Generally, I prefer the art in reality quest a lot more. More specifically, the colors. They make things really just pop. All of the battle scenes feel like a Yakuza game, right before the boss. A+ on color and flow. The only thing that could use some work is character designs. Like, some dudes are just ugly as sin. Like, it's very clear the artist likes drawing pretty girls, but some dudes could use some work. Questism is kind of lagging behind in terms of color and stuff, but its character designs are pretty good and memorable for the most part. Both of these manhwas suffer from the fact that they're both drawing a bunch of underage girls very hornily, unfortunately. The fact that there's an RPG leveling system isn't the only thing that these have in connection with Persona. Never ask a Persona fan their opinion on the age of consent, or a Minecraft YouTuber. Just some quick tips. Something cool I like in Questism is the presence of the strongest guy. There's a guy who just is the strongest and exists as the bar for everyone else, and I just love when that shit comes up. Anyways, finally, we have a difference that's been staring at us from the beginning. The system itself. The system is a common manhwa trope. It exists as a way to easily categorize strength for the audience. Normally, the system is usually neutral. It exists so the main character can level up and stuff and get new powers. But some stories actually personify the system. Maybe it's working with you for some reason. Maybe it's against you. Who created it, and for what purpose does it exist? All important questions. Some stories, like My S-Rank Hunters, have clear lore reasons as to why the system exists, and the rules it must follow. Like in Reality Quest, we know why it exists. It's a gift to help Doan from a friend. Ideally, it's a cooperative relationship. In Questism, the system is more suspicious. Spoiler warning, by the way. In Questism, my favorite reveal so far is that the main bad guy, the leader of the whole bully league, is also a system user just like the main character. The reason why the main character has been given so much freedom to do as he pleases within the bully organization so far is because the leader is bound by a quest to not interfere with him. At least this is the main guess by Suyin. We do see him use a skill, implying that this guess is in fact correct, but that puts us in a weird place because it makes us wonder, what exactly is the system trying to accomplish and what goals does it have for Suyin? And is it even good for him in the first place? It adds a nice little mystery element to the story. You never really know if the system is for you or against you. As of right now, both of these stories are still being published. Please read their official releases if possible. But this begs the question, which of these two similar manhwa is better? If you've been watching my video so far, the answer is pretty obvious. It's Questism. Though that's not to say Reality Quest is bad, it's quite good actually, and excels in place that Questism has yet to catch up on. And Questism does not contain a deal breaker for a chunk of its audience. Reality Quest is a much more fun, light read, with beautiful art and great coloring and action. Questism is more of a dedicated read and rewards the reader with characters you'll grow to love. Both manhwas serve their respective purposes, and neither is better than the other. It just really depends on what you're in the mood for, really. That being said, I do kind of like Questism more, misgendering aside, you know, if you can put that aside. Anyways, if you've ever wondered how two manhwas with the exact same premise could be different, well, now you know. Thank you so much for watching. See you next video. Bye-bye!